My goal is to make your life better. Start showing that you actually give a darn about people. And I actually believe a conservative approach, free market economics, is the way you get there, not a campaign of past resentments.
Eight-term Congressman David Schweikert shook up the 2026 Republican primary for governor, deciding to run for state government's top job and leave behind a career in Congress. Does Schweikert have a path to victory in the three-way GOP primary? And which Republicans are jumping into the race for his first congressional district seat? Our politics panel steps in now. Matt Grotsky, Democratic consultant at Matters of State Strategies, and Chad Haywood, Republican consultant at Camelback Strategy Group and a former executive director of the Arizona Republican Party. Welcome back. Before we start, any disclosures about the candidates, office holders we're going to talk about today, Matt?
Not for this one, no.
Chad?
Done work for a few of the candidates. My firm's currently helping Robeson.
Oh, so you're in now?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why we ask the questions. So David Schweikert going up against two Trump-endorsed candidates, land use consultant Karen Taylor Robeson, who lost the 22 Republican primary for governor, and fellow Congressman Andy Biggs. Biggs also has the support of Turning Point USA, and he also was supported by the late leader of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk. Schweikert's polling shows he has a path to victory. He stressed that several times in an interview I did with him this past week. I'll go to you first because I think I know your answer, but let's hear it. Does he have a path to victory?
Well, I've underestimated David Schweikert before. He's a very smart guy. He works very hard when he's in campaign mode. I haven't seen anyone have a path to victory without a Trump endorsement in a primary in a very long time. Unless you're an incumbent governor or have your own platform, his pathway will be really difficult without having a Trump support.
That is really interesting. He didn't seem interested at all in Trump support. They haven't been close. You don't hear David Schweikert just, banging the drum for Donald Trump. Kind of unusual. Also what he said in that soundbite about a campaign of past resentments.
Yeah, it's a heck of a way to ride off into the sunset. I don't see a path for him unless he's making a play for lieutenant governor or some situation like that. But look, I know he's referenced in numerous interviews he's got big boy polling. The reality is he enabled a big boy insurrection and voted for big boy inflation. So I'm hoping with a statewide race, regardless of the outcome, he gets more scrutiny for his past record.
The conventional wisdom, Chad, is that he does pull votes from Karen Taylor Robeson, who, despite her Trump support, has kind of been in the, let's call it the more mainstream lane.
Yeah, so he answered that wasn't the case. In things I've seen, actually, I think most voters just think, hey, two politicians, career politicians that have met in D.C., and so folks that know both of them, he actually pulled more from Biggs.
Pulled more from Biggs.
Interesting.
You buy that?
I'm not totally sure I buy that, but I like what the Robeson campaign's got there, so we'll see.
Let's move on to the rumblings in the Schweikert's first congressional district. Takes in parts of Phoenix, Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, and Schweikert's home of Fountain Hills. It's a swing district that could help decide control of Congress. Schweikert and Trump ran even there in 2024, each got about 51-52% of the vote. Kind of interesting. So who is getting in on the Republican side? Because right now there's nobody.
Sure. Well, on the Republican side, you'll see a lot of state legislators look at this. Matt Gress, Chaplik.
Joseph Chaplik.
The thing about that district is there's a lot of success and wealth, and the economy's been good for a lot of folks that live there. I think there's probably 3 or 4 self-funders or business people who probably are taking a look at it right now, maybe doing polling. So I'd look for some names that you just haven't even heard before. Governor Ducey was a business leader. Trump's a businessman. So I think you're going to see people
Ducey doesn't want to be a member of Congress, does he? One of 435?
I think after you've been an executive, probably going to one of 435 is not a fun place to be.
Who are you hearing?
Oh, I'm hearing everybody. I think there was a rumor about Chaplik getting in on the R side. There was the Danica Patrick rumor that was going on. On the Dem side, we've got everybody in the party running. There's been 12 statements of interest filed. So either way, I think it's good for Dems because if it is a contested R primary, it's going to drag them all to the right and give us something else to talk about in terms of differentiation.
You mentioned Danica Patrick. I heard her name a few weeks ago. Very interesting. She was close to Charlie Kirk, is close to Turning Point USA, is close to Donald Trump, the former race car driver. Danica Patrick, if folks don't know, she's got 1 million followers, so you probably should know. Is that a real thing?
I think it's a real thing. I think you see her weigh in on politics and on cultural issues. She's friends with the president. The president loves people who are celebrities that appeal to pop culture, that maybe aren't seen as career politicians. So I take it seriously.
Todd Graham, the former ASU football coach, is apparently interested in this as well.
Yeah, I'm hearing every name. I mean, I think Santa Claus is in there as well, right? I mean, I think the beauty for Dems is, as I mentioned, is especially if Patrick gets into the race, conversation's going to move to the right, and it's going to be much better for Dems to be able to define the opposition because Schweikert was defined and entrenched for so long. It really gives them some ammo, but would be better for Dems if we weeded out our competition a little bit so we could focus on some folks.
So a reality check here, because nationally, this isn't about David Schweikert, it's about a swing district that could swing the leadership of Congress. And you and I have talked about this before, Matt, but is this still as swingy a district in 2026, say, as it was in 24, 20, even 22?
No, it should be more swingy, but Democrats have frankly dropped the ball on this. And I think a lot of the people are getting into this race because they're remembering the 2022 margin where Jevin Hodge lost by just 1 point. But in 2022 from 2024, Dems added some 2,000 voters to their rolls in that district. Republicans added 11,000, right? And that trend is continuing. And that's why you saw Shaw lose by 5 points last time around. There were some other factors with that. But we've got to get our house in order in terms of registering people there. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very tough fight, regardless of who the nominee is.
You see the same way?
I really appreciate Matt getting the Republican talking points on this.
They sent me an email this morning.
Republican registration has been growing consistently. People that move here are usually moving from blue states because they're Republicans, because they're conservative leaning. It doesn't look very much like a swing district to me, just from basic numbers. But Republicans are going to have a brutal primary. They're going to have to work that out. Happy to hear that Dems will have a multi-candidate primary as well. And then all things being equal after these late primaries, I think advantage the Republicans.
I do think, though, if they drag this to the right and it becomes an idea of extremes in that primary, it's much better for Dems to be able to point to those guys that emerge as the nominee and say, look how extreme those guys are. They're out of touch, because this is not a district that rewards extremism when it's very blunt.
All right. Lots to keep an eye on the next few days and weeks. I want to end with President Trump making an offer to the universities, including University of Arizona, that maybe they can't refuse. Can U of A say no to this, do what I want, or no federal funding?
So the federal government has this long partnership with universities, and they even have preferential partnerships if you have specific expertise. But the U of A they've had just a tough time financially. And so having a carrot and a stick, it's a really difficult thing for them to say no to. It could solve a lot of their financial problems. I think it was telling Arizona State wasn't included in this. As a Sun Devil, I think their house is a little bit more in order, and I hope that plays out later this year in football as well.
Is the mantra bear down or roll over? I think it's a very, very easy decision. And we've seen whether it's law firms or corporate media and other universities, even if you bend over here, Trump keeps coming back because he's a bully, right? So I don't think you want to take this bait. They shouldn't negotiate with someone who's putting a gun to their head. I think it's a very easy decision, but we'll see what happens.
Got to end it there. Chad Haywood, Matt Grodzki, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
That's our show for this week. Thanks very much to all of our guests. Thank you so much for joining us. And I have to say happy birthday to our very talented director, Calvin Robbins, who makes us all look good every week. And we'll see you back here next weekend for another round of Sunday Square Off.